Welcome to Play PS5, and today I want to talk about a video to discuss whether you should sell your PS4, and if you decide to sell it, where should you sell it, when should you sell it, and then how much should you actually ask for a used PS4 at this point. And so, right off the bat, we need to decide, should you sell your PS4 or not? And when I sat down and I thought about it, there are three main reasons I can think of why you would want to keep your PS4. The first one is that you have had this console for a long time, you've had memories on it, it is a very solid console, you may just want to keep it as a keepsake. You can always display it, it's cool looking, it's very durable, it's not going to die on you anytime soon, it's going to last for years and years, so you may just want to keep it and just have that memory and have that hardware. That's perfectly fine, totally understandable. Another reason would be if you have PSVR or other peripherals, maybe there are certain controllers or things that you may have that you don't exactly know with 100% certainty that are going to translate to the PS5. And so if you have these controllers, or I personally have a PSVR, and we know some of the games are definitely going to be compatible with the PS5, with they have a janky little setup to be able to do that. But you know some of them are, but you don't know if they all will. So if you have those peripherals and you want to be sure they're not just lying around and that you'll be able to use them whenever you want, then it's probably a good idea to keep your PS4. And then the third reason would be that we know that there is backwards compatibility with the PS5, but we know that they were talking about the top 400 games. Well, if you have a lot of games, like a lot of gamers do, and they're smaller third-party games, you don't know if those smaller games are going to be compatible. And if you have those and you want the ability to always be able to play them, then obviously you'd want to keep your PS4 just to be safe. So if those don't match your certain scenario, and for me personally, I didn't have a big library. I do have a PSVR, but for me, when I sat down and I looked at it, I was like, I don't need a PS4 and a PS5. Everything that I would use a PS4 for is that I could do the same thing with the PS5. And the PSVR games I may be losing is probably worth it, because you sit down and you think PS5 is going to be what, $600 probably, let's just say, and then you have an extra controller possibly, that's at least 100, and then you throw in 2 or 3 games, and now they're talking about those being $70 a pop. And so you're looking at a $900 price tag, which is a really hard pill to swallow. However, if you were able to break up and sell the PS4, make $300 or more off it, then you know that pill becomes a little easier to swallow, and you have a next gen console. So at that point, let's say you have listened to the reasons, or you've thought yourself and you are in fact going to sell it. So now let's talk about what you need to do first before you actually put your PS4 on market and begin selling it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is back up all of your games, all of your files on your PS4. So to do that, you have a thumb drive or a cloud option. So if you go to Applications, Save Data Management, within the settings of your PS4, there is an option to put Save Data in System Storage. And once you click on this, there are two options: essentially backup via the cloud or backup via thumb drive. I backed mine up to the cloud, so hopefully when I get my PS5, I can load in my PSN account and I'll have access to all those games. But if you feel more comfortable also having them on a disk drive, understandable, you have that option. Second, do you want to deactivate this PS4 as your primary device, your primary PS4? So to do this, go to Account Management, and there's a selection that says Activate this as primary PS4. You would click on it, and then there's an option to deactivate it. So essentially it takes your PS4 and your PSN account and then it kind of separates them. And so that is step number 2. And step 3, essentially you want to do a full system restore. And to do this, you would go into Settings, and there's an option called Initialization. There are two options. There's a quick and a full. So a quick version obviously is just quicker, and even on the PS4 it says that option, there are third-party people who are able to access some of the records if need be. But since I am selling this to a complete stranger, I think the less info they potentially have access to, the better. So I am going to do a full initialization. That's why I would recommend you do as well. It does take a long time. It took me a little over 3 hours. So it is a time investment. You don't do anything, it just sits there. But so it does take a while, but it completely wipes absolutely everything off your PS4. That way, when you boot up again, it's as if you literally just purchased it from the store, which is what I believe a person would want when they first purchased it. Also, what you want so they can't access your data. So you've done that. So now the question is, you've prepared your PS4, you know you're going to sell it. So now where exactly do you sell your PS4? So the question to where you should sell it was kind of the easy answer for me. So you have your options of the big chain stores like GameStop, and I'd prefer and suggest you not choose those options. They're going to bend you over the table and they're going to crush you with their price. Even if they give you a higher amount in-store credit, you still will not make as much money as if you just sold it yourself. So your options there are Craigslist, OfferUp, Letgo, or some other similar types of apps. And so Craigslist is always tried and true. Put that on there. You never know who you're going to get, but people sell millions of products over it, over the course of a year. So that is perfectly fine. My personal go-to is called OfferUp. That is an app that I liken it to a less sketchy version of Craigslist. You can actually see people's avatars, so you can see their face. They all have ratings. It just seems like a little less sketchy. I've used OfferUp a lot, and I've always had good experiences. Just meet in a public place and have some common sense. And then there's also an app called Letgo, and I think I also like it, just not as many people use it. Again, it's just a less sketchy version of Craigslist. So those would be my three options, to choose one of those, whatever one you feel most comfortable with. And so now that you know that you're able to sell it and where you're going to sell it, the two big questions, and probably why you clicked on this video in the first place, is when exactly should you sell your PS4, and then the big boy, how much should you try to get for it? So we'll tackle those right now. So the biggest question for me actually was, when should I sell this system? So you don't want to sell it too early because you probably have games in your backlog you want to play. It's your system. But you also want to avoid, there's going to be a point in which people are on the hype train for the PS5 and the value of the PS4 is going to nosedive. And so I don't know when that's going to be. It's all speculation. But what I can tell you is that typically, based on the PS3 and the PS4 and Sony, they typically show their release dates for their new consoles at Gamescom, which for this year begins on August 27th. So at some point, they're going to discuss the release date. I think it's a pretty foregone conclusion it's going to be in November. It's just going to be when exactly in November is it going to be. And even at that, it's not like they're going to release the date and immediately no one cares about the PS4. That's not how it'll go. I don't really know how long to wait, but all I know is I want to be before that wave because I want to maximize, if I'm going to sell my PS4 anyhow, I want to maximize the amount of profit I can get out of it. So that's what you need to consider on how many games you have. Do you really need to have it for 2 more months before you get a PS5, things of that nature. It's a trade-off. How risky do you want to be? And so after you decide when you want to sell it, now I think for me the most interesting part too is how much should you actually sell your PS4 for? So I'll admit that I was a little confused by some of the listings I saw for the PlayStation 4 on OfferUp. So I found some PlayStation 4s that were $90 and some that were $400. So there's a huge swing and it didn't really make any sense. So what I personally did is I put my PlayStation 4 up for $250, and within one day I got several bites and someone was willing to pay full price. And even after the fact, someone actually offered me $300, but I had already had the arrangement with the other guy set, and the guy seemed maybe a little sketchy, so I just took the for sure $250. But for me personally, in my situation, I live in an urban area, so there's I live in a big city, so a bunch of people live around me. And then I had a PlayStation 4 Pro, 1 terabyte, so pretty maxed out there. I had the box along with the manual, all of the original power cords, all of that good stuff, and I sold it with one controller. And so I had a pretty sweet deal, I feel like. If you want a PS4, it's about the most powerful one that you're going to get. And so, like I said, I personally, I wish I had put it up for 300 because I'm almost certain I could have gotten $300 for it. So for you, I would suggest to you to put it up for 300. Even if they lowball you, you can meet in the middle, and then pretty much everyone's happy at that point. But I think I undervalued mine a little bit. And another thing to think of is, if you don't have the box, or maybe your system isn't in perfect condition like mine was or something, maybe that takes some value off. But also remember, I didn't sell it with any games, and I only had one controller. So if you add those things, that obviously increases the value, so then you can get some more out of it. Another kind of tricky thing I did was that I took all the peripherals that I have and I sold those separately. So if you have an extra controller, you can sell that for separately for a cool $40. Whereas if you lumped it into the PS4 in the one post, you're not going to be able to just tack on $40 onto the price. It sadly doesn't work like that. People won't buy it. And then for my PlayStation camera, you could sell those on eBay right now for $50. So I do have a PSVR, and so I do need that camera. But I sat down and I took a risk. I was like, I can sell it now for $50 and bank on the fact that once a PS5 comes out, that camera will hopefully lower in price. And so if I sold it for 50 and then I have to buy another one after the PS5 has come out and say I have to pay 20 for it, I still netted $30 and I'm still able to use my PSVR after a month or whatever. So there's some trade-offs there, a little bit of risk, but altogether for my PS4 that, again, no games, no extra controller, I netted, I think it was about $290, and I definitely could have gotten more for that, I think, had I not undervalued it. So that's what I would suggest to you is aim high, put it at 300 if you have a situation similar to mine, and if not, you'll have to adjust accordingly. But it would be interesting to see, and I would love your feedback. And when do you actually think is the best time to sell your PS4? Do you think you're going to wait a little longer? Do you think sooner the better? Also, what price are you thinking about getting out of it? For me personally, I thought $300 out of that is pretty good. You look at now my $900 PS5 purchase is $600, and that's much more manageable, and it's not as daunting as almost spending $1,000 to get a next-gen console. So I would love your feedback. Thank you for watching, and thanks for watching Play PS5. Remember, don't play with yourself, play PS5.